The economy in 2025 is holding on for life. And today we're going to go over the Pawnshop indicator. That is a real world barometer of economic conditions that uses activity in pawnshop to gauge the economic health. So, what does that mean? When pawnshops see an increased consumer activity, more people pawning items for loans or buying items, and reduced item reclamation, it can signal the economy and financial struggles for individuals. Makes sense, right? And so, conversely, a decrease in pawnshop activity suggests the economy is doing better than it did before because people don't need to go out and buy from pawn shops, they go buy it new. Makes sense, right? So, an increased pawn and decreased reclamation, when people face financial hardship, they may have pawn valuable items for cash or to secure a short term loan, to buy groceries, to do all kinds of other stuff. If the item individual can't afford to pay back the loan, they lose the item, which increases the pawn shop's inventory and reflects a struggling economy. And so we're going to go later on and look at a pawn shop. And I got a pawn shop owner basically made a video basically talking about all of this. So, increased retail sale and inventory movement. In a good economic times, people have more discretionary income and are more likely to buy new goods from retail stores rather than to rely on pawn shops. And in order to understand how a pawn shop operates, let's look at this. This is three ways how they make money. They give out loans, they forfeit or direct sales, and then they do jewelry, small repairs, firearms, transfers, checks, and all kinds of other stuff like that. So we're seeing that during harder times, people trying to get out loans, people try to pawn their stuff and see if they can get some cash so they can make their Klarna payment for their Starbucks loan or whatever it is. This is what I've done yesterday. So if you haven't and you like my content, please like and subscribe so I can pay my Starbucks loan back. So when you're taking out loans in pawn shops and you pawn items, they'll give you a certain amount, and then they'll basically say you got to come back and do it cash or via debit card or credit card, and we're just going to ring that up so you kind of make the payments. And if you do not come back and make those payments, they will then sell that item. And we're going to go to a pawn shop later on here and just kind of look at what they got. I think they're going to have TVs, a bunch of TVs, but I don't think that they're worth that much anymore because you can buy like a Fire TV on Amazon for like $100, and they even offer Afterpay or whatever Klarna, and you can even finance that. And let's just kind of watch what a pawn shop owner has to say.
The economy sucks. How can I tell? Let me explain. When I opened this store up, 6 in 10 people walking through my door were selling to me. Now, 4 years later, after opening my store, it's 9.5 out of 10 people. The vast majority of people are selling, not buying. And this is true in every state, pretty much across the board. Every other shop owner that I've spoken with that does what I do is overrun with people selling. Now, this puts enormous strain on businesses like mine. It requires a lot more capital because instead of getting retail sales, instead of being able to generate some retail, you're pretty much only selling to smelters, wholesale people. You're turning and turning and turning just to keep the cash flow going good because you got so much stuff walking in the door. You're spending so much every day. You got to keep it flowing. So it's enormous strain on my business. One, two, the market is oversaturated with items because there's so much stuff getting sold. Premiums are in the toilet, stuff that's collectible, stuff that's very expensive, like a rare coin. We're not seeing even close to what stuff was going for just a few years ago because the market is so oversaturated. Now, what's especially curious about this is as this is happening, you have the prices of precious metal rising rapidly. That suggests to me a very unstable economy because precious metals reflect the economy. If the price is going up, it means the economy sucks. And especially because a business like mine has the thumb to the pulse of the lower and middle class people because so many people are hurting. I see it every day. So many people are selling. So many people are in desperate situations where they need to sell just to stay afloat. And it's just getting worse and worse. Tells me our economy sucks. This has been a slow burn. It's been going for a couple of years, but in the last year, it's gotten really bad. In my opinion, once I have a line out my door, that's indicative to me that we're heading to a Great Depression. It's not that bad yet, but it seems to be getting more and more extreme.
We're seeing that he said that there's a lot of people basically trying to sell him. And before it was 6 out of 10, now it's 9.5 out of 10. Everybody walking in trying to sell something. And we really saw that during the stimulus era where there was so much money pumped into the market that people bought boats, Rolexes. We saw gold coins. And funny enough, a week or so ago, I talked to somebody that owned a collector memorabilia store, and he said during COVID, anything that had signatures from celebrities on it, it just flew off the shelves. And people are like, "Oh, is this gonna? Can I resell this? Is this mic gonna go up in value or something else?" And they just handed the money and like, "Okay, this is for $700. Let's buy it. Hopefully, I can sell it in a year or two for $800, $900." And they got into stuff they didn't really know about. And now we're seeing that they're bringing these items back. They're bringing these rare coins back. They're bringing all this other stuff back. The problem is when everybody has that mentality and you're going to go back and trying to sell it, it saturates the market. And that's going to put price or downwards pressure on it, right? So let's say you have a coin that's super rare. So 100 people have the same coin, and there's always been one or two for sale in the market, kept prices high. All of a sudden, we see 10 or 15 of these coins for sale. All of a sudden, that drops the price down because people can say, there's 15 of them, and one of them's probably desperate. So you can write lowball offers. And the same kind of concept goes for real estate. The same kind of concept goes for literally everything. The more there's on the market, then there's downward pressure. The less there's on the market, it's supply and demand. So we're seeing all kinds of stuff like that. And these guys with the pawn shops are on the forefront of the economy where they're looking at like, okay, this is my problem. This is what we're seeing. And when people don't come and want to buy stuff, they don't want to exchange goods for loans and everything else. We are in trouble. And this is what I've been telling you guys, not just because we can finance groceries for 90 plus days. No, it's that these small business owners, these pawn shops, the first line of defense where people can go and say, I'm in construction. I need a few $100s to make payroll. So let me just pawn a few of my tools and, get over the week that I'm not using on this job, are not seeing that they're going to get the money for it. So we're seeing that there's going to be a ripple effect in that. And now let's go put on the meta glasses and go check out a pawn shop. And then I want you guys to drop a comment below. What do you think? Were you surprised? Were you not surprised? And now, unfortunately, the meta glasses only film this way. So hopefully that's still okay. Let me know what you guys think.
So we're here at Easy Pawn, or if I'm saying that right. So when we walk in, you see the aisle right there, and I kind of had to turn right to see all the bikes. And these are the TV and monitor section. It's kind of packed. So there's only a few places left where you can actually put a TV, and there's no more room for any projectors or any type of stereo or cell phone cases. It looks just packed. And they were doing some rearranging, and here you can get some bikes. And I told you guys before, I don't think that they sell bikes really that much anymore, because you can get them pretty inexpensively at Walmart. And so now we're coming to the tool section. This is what's kind of more interesting to me, because when I walked through it, I saw a Louis Vuitton purse for $2,300. So people not only have no money, people with money are pawning their luxury goods. And when you're looking back to the tools, those tools are fairly new. So they are not used at all when I looked at these tools. So when I think during the good times, where people have money, they take tools that aren't that heavily used. But during bad times, all these tools are kind of new. And as you can see, they got a whole bunch of stuff still in boxes. They got Snap-on auto readers. They got HVAC meters. They got stuff that hasn't even been touched yet. And as you can see, they got generators, weed whackers. They got literally welders, everything under the sun. And it is just absolutely funny to see all these stuff that they've kind of got rid of more bikes. I think they were rearranging some stuff. But as you can see, they got PlayStation controllers, they got headphones, they got PS5s for like $80 or PS4, whatever that is. I'm no expert. But yeah, watches. They had all kinds of stuff there that are still new. $300. There's 250 in for that other watch. There's
Okay, we're right back at the spot and we're back from the pawn shop. And it is quite interesting to see what they've sold. I did not see that there is a lot more available room to show that, yeah, they could have another few bikes, but I don't know how many people are really gonna buy these bikes. And it's funny to see these Nintendo Switches and everything else. It was just packed. You could literally buy one today, and I think they'll be negotiable too on the price because they got so many of them. And I think it's at one point a pawn shop just says, you know what? I've spent so much time holding this. I just got to move it. So if you're going to offer me $25 less than 190, I'm going to take it because I'd rather take this now, keep the cash flow coming like the first person we saw. So this is just what we're seeing in the marketplace. And it is just absolutely detrimental that people need to pawn tools. I've seen generators. I've seen all kinds of stuff that these people are giving up and saying, you know what? I can't keep it no more. I am done. I need to get out of it. And I'd rather take $100 for something that is worth 190 on the market than just not take anything. And most people know that you can go on Facebook Marketplace, offer that up, but people are so desperate that they say, I need to pay this bill today, and I'm just going to go to a pawn shop for $100 so I can just get that today. Because with the rise of Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, I always thought that pawn shops are kind of an outdated model because you can just list it and you can then kind of sell it fairly quickly if you price it right. But as we're seeing that this pawn shop was filled with stuff, sneakers, you saw it, bikes, tools. It literally had audio stuff, laptops, phones, diamonds. I didn't really go into the diamond section, but it was just packed. There was not one one ring space left where you could fit another ring in. It was just packed. And what does this show you when you're looking at it? It just shows you that there is an oversaturated of items that people had to sell it. People had to say, I cannot keep it. I need to get rid of it. And I'm willing to take less for money today. And guess what? This is really good news for you that saved money. And I've had people that said, I feel so bad because I didn't spend money during COVID. I just kept it in my checking account and I've lost out on so much upwards trends in the market because I wasn't really invested and I didn't buy a boat. I'm still driving my 2000 um, truck, and all of a sudden we're going to see good deals are coming because it costs you to hold these items. And when I'm looking at that pawn shop and I see the row of TVs, I'm looking at everything else, it shows me that they have a cost to hold these items and they got to make payroll, they got to pay rent, they got to do all that. So it literally costs some money to have these TVs stacked. And when I'm looking at that, it's like, okay, how long can you keep that till you have to lower prices and say, you know what, let's move some volume, let's get some stuff out so we can take on new clients and make some more money or lend? Because the back room where they have the loans is probably stacked. If you ever seen Hardcore Pawn from Detroit, you see how big the back is and how many TVs they have, how much stuff they got. It is just absolutely crazy. And this just shows us that consumers are looking at pawn shops, looking at Klarna loans, looking at everything to just kind of to just kind of skate by, hoping that there's going to be an uptick in jobs, an uptick in the economy, because the Fed is going to have to lower interest rates coming up here because it is so crazy. Money is so hard to lend. People are just tapped out. Americans do not have the money anymore, or you would not see that many nice tools in pawn shops. You wouldn't see all these bikes, nice ones too. You wouldn't see Nintendo Switches in the box at pawn shops. So that means somebody bought that probably during COVID and said, you know what, we're just going to have it a little bit. Comes to find out, they're like, you know what, this is not what I can do right now. I need to put food on the table. I need to keep my house that I've hyped in that is now worth a little bit less than I've paid for. The electricity bill is so sky high, so I can't afford it. I need to make some money. I need to sell some stuff. And what do? They go to pawn shops, they go on Facebook Marketplace. They're trying to list their stuff for sale so they can get by another month. And this is not a phenomenon that is new, that in downturns, pawn shops kind of have a run on it. So if I'm looking at that business model, I'm looking at it like during good times, you're stocked very thin because that's not when you buy stuff. You buy stuff in downwards markets because in downwards markets, you then accumulate stuff. And then during good times, when it kind of goes, it's like a basin where during the basin, when it's low tide, you're kind of like conservative, and then the stuff comes in during the bad times where people are trying to pawn, get $20 for their TVs or 60 or 40 with high interest because they need the money so bad. And now people are going to be like, this is so mean. Rico, you're just an asshole. You just want these people to lose their TVs and to lose their stuff. I did not force anybody to do a stupid decision. I didn't tell you to go out and buy crazy stuff. I made comment that I said, keep your stimulus money, try to put it in a savings account, try to invest it in a way that you know you can make money. But people went out, they bought TVs, they bought cars over asking price, $40,000, $60,000. And all of a sudden now they're going to be, oh, my car's not doing so well. I need to get into a new one, $40,000 negative equity. How are you going to come up with that? So we're seeing that everything you do has consequences. If it is free speech and you're like, you know what, I'm going to post something randomly online and you're going to get fired over it, has the consequences. If you go take out a Starbucks loan, has consequences that I did yesterday, right? I have to pay that back. And if you're going to go out and you buy a house, has consequences. So everything in life has consequences. When you are 16, 17 years old, your actions result into mistakes that might cost $100, $200, and it's the end of the world. I remember that when it's like, when my phone broke and I had a $500 phone, it was literally the end of the world. Now I'm in my early 30s and I see the mistakes that I do now are not $200 anymore, they're thousands. And if you're in your 50s and 60s and you buy houses and you leverage your savings account, you leverage your 401k into the wrong stuff, it might cost you hundreds of thousands. So be sure you know what you're doing. And just because some YouTuber tells you, oh, this is not great, you need to do your own research. You need to rely on your own knowledge and impulse buyers. We are just emotional. And when I talk about purchases, I talk about real estate, I talk about car sales, and people always say in the comment section, "Oh, those are dumb people, and those are people that didn't know what they were doing, and they got catfish and everything else." They got swindled into it. Some people are so good at their craft that it's just absolutely horrific to see, and then you get purchased into it. You got sold the dream, and all of a sudden, it didn't turn out the dream. So let's say you're in this situation, you're in it, you're in debt. How do you even get out of it? So, first of all, you got to be honest with yourself and say, this is my situation, and get an accurate income versus outcome statement. See what you're coming in and see what's going out. And don't be like, oh, this was a one time cost. No, no, no. Write it all up. Use AI. AI, just upload the bank account, say, what are my income? What's my outcome? Put it into a spreadsheet. And then see, okay, I'm actually losing with interest, everything else. I'm actually in the hole $1,000, $2,000 every month that I have to put on credit cards or something else. You will get that information. Once you have that information, if it's only a few $100s, you can kind of make tweaks to your life. You can say, I'm not going to go eat out. Gonna figure something else out. But if it's going to be thousands of dollars that you're in the hole and you're already in credit card debt up to the yin yang, you need to know, what are my options? And then depending on how it is, you have to either consider that consolidation loans, or you got to refinance, or you got to do bankruptcy. And don't think that bankruptcy is this huge, huge, horrible thing, but it is there to help people that are struggling. So you got to look at it. Do I pass the means test? Do I pass what kind of chapter can I file with? Am I making more than the allowed income to file for a certain chapter of bankruptcy? And you just got to look at it and be honest with yourself and take the pink lenses off and say, this is the state that I'm in, and this is the problem that I'm seeing, and I can't keep going on. But the biggest problem is, you got to know that there's a problem, because if you don't think that there's a problem, then you're not going to change anything. And if you don't detect a pattern of bad behavior, then whatever you've done, you're going to do again. So you have to realize that I made a mistake and I'm going to be done. So this was it for this video. Please like and subscribe. That would really help out my channel. And thank you so much. And I'll see you guys in the next one.